Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, streaming January 25th, only on Netflix.
A note to listeners. The following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Discretion is advised.
Do we believe that we know who did it? Yeah. Does the evidence lead us that way? Double yeah.
I've known Joe Russell all of my life, and he's a piece of shit.
Or she was telling them, look, this is where I am. I can see it. This is where I am. Where do I go? What do I do?
First they said little Conn Nipp, they wanted to say that they thought that he's the one that killed him, but he didn't kill him.
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman.
2 weeks after Molly and Colt went missing, Paula and her family were conducting searches of Long Hollow Road when a call came in. A deputy had found the car that was used in the high-speed chase.
The car belonged to a woman named Sabrina Graham, who happened to be Conn Nipp's girlfriend. Sabrina had reported the car stolen the night of the chase.
At first, law enforcement and Molly's family were hopeful that the car would have some clues about what happened to Molly and Colt.
But there was nothing in the car and no signs of a crime.
However, the car was found adjacent to the Nipp family property. Phone records showed that there were countless calls from Sabrina to Conn on the night of the chase, and she ended up serving time for insurance fraud.
As the months passed, Molly's family became frustrated with law enforcement and decided to hire their own private investigator, Phil Klein.
Phil was on the TV show with us, and he took us out to the area where the car was found.
He's agreed to come on the show and talk about the case. Let's call him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm a little better today. I think I have reception if you can hear me clearly.
You sound good.
They're working on the cell phone. I'm way out in North Texas. Well, I mean, like way out in North Texas. And so if we drop out, I'll try to get back with you. Okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds
all right.
Good. Thank you. So
Sure.
We just wanted to start off with what is going on. Are you doing anything with the case right now?
Which case?
Molly's case. Molly and Colt.
Miller. Yeah. No, we're kind of in a standstill operation right now. The situation is that we need to get on to actually two pieces of property that are owned by the same family, and they are not allowing us to get onto the property.
Yeah, I heard about that search warrant.
Yep. And then the district judge that raided the search warrant, the district judge that did that, he probably was right for certain procedures that you have to do, and they weren't followed and they weren't done properly. And it's just one of those things. You got to do things by the law in order to prosecute. Do we believe that we know who did it? Yeah. Does the evidence lead us that way? Double yeah. But we've got to find Molly and Colt's body, number one. And number two, we have to bring them home. And number three, we have to prosecute. And that's what the big holdup is not we, I shouldn't say that. The authorities have to prosecute. So that's kind of where we are. We have to get over that hump. Either we got to raise a bunch of money and buy all that property from those people and go on it with a fine-tooth comb, or we're dead in the water. And right now the answer is we're dead in the water.
So which properties are you referring to? Because there's been a couple that have been thrown around here.
No, the only thing I will tell you, it's properties owned by the Nipp family.
Okay, so we're back to that. We're back to just being able to get onto the Nipp property.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Which we've never left it. I mean, some in the media have left it, but we have never left it. And I know law enforcement has never left it.
Phil, the when we were out there with you and you took us to the burn pit, you showed us where the car was and showed us how close the Nipp property was to that. Is that sort of the area we're talking about?
Absolutely. The dog led us to that area. The cadaver dog, led us to that area. 1, 2, most importantly, not only did the dog lead us there, but communications between the parties led us there. What I mean by that is that Molly was on her phone that night and she was communicating with people, and they were telling her, or she was telling them, look, this is where I am. I can see it. This is where I am. Where do I go? What do I do? And I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Sure.
They tried to lead her out of the woods, we'll call it, or the Zendaya, and she did go out of that, and we believe she followed that road down to Pike and Oswald, and because she told two witnesses have told us that while she was on the phone, she was at Pike and Oswald. At that point, we all kind of said, "Okay, we got you. We know where you were, sweetie."
Do you remember who said that?
At this point, I've been asked by law enforcement not to list these people because the last time we listed a couple of people, they got death threats and they were threatened.
Understood. Can we go back to Colby Barrack for a second and the butt dial, the 911 butt dial?
Sure. Right.
How did you find out about that?
Well, we don't really want to say how we found out about it because, again, the witness has been threatened a few times. What we do want to tell is that it is credible. It was verified, and Barrack never admitted to it, but he did say that he knew about it.
We happen to have the 911 butt dial call that came from Moxley Lake in 2014, almost a year after Molly and Colt went missing.
Let's play it.
March 29, 2014, 12, 28, 34.
Love County 911 with IW emergency.
Showing it now. Look there. They put my thing on, could they?
Hello?
Oh. Showing it now. Look there. They put my thing on, could they?
March 29, 2014, 12, 34, 29.
Yeah.
Sorry it's taking me so long. I was just on 911 listening to a 911 phone call. They were talking about Molly and Colt, and the girl that was killed and dope and stuff like that. Like they didn't know that they were on 911. And it comes from a pond just north of Long Hollow Road on Oswald.
March 29, 2014, 13, 16, 27.
Love County Dispatch, this is Brandy.
Hey, they didn't give me on name or nothing?
No.
Phone ping down around Moxley Lake.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, can you tell me what the phone number was that called you?
Do I need to call it back and see if it rings?
Call that phone, see if it rings.
You want me to?
Yes.
All right. Hold on.
March 29, 2014, 13:59:05.
Hello?
Who am I speaking with?
It's Colby Wright.
Colby Wright?
Huh?
Who is this?
It's Colby. Who's this?
This is Melissa.
What's her?
Melissa with 911 dispatch?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Call the doctor again.
Okay. All righty.
Sorry.
All right, bye.
He knew about that area. He knew it like the back of his hand. There was the bodies weren't put, when you shoot somebody like the one young man was shot, that just tells us that it's massive. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of, and we were never able to establish that evidence. So we have to only go where the evidence leads us. So we were able to establish that way. One thing criminals like to do is they like to talk about other stuff that they're not guilty of. And we believe at the time that he was not guilty of that situation, but we believe he assisted.
Which situation are you talking about? You talking about, you just referred earlier about some other person being shot, and that they were, who you referring to?
Okay, Molly and Colt were out. They were out in the car wreck. They got out of the car, and when they got out of the car, Conn Nipp was with them. We believe that they all ran down into the ravine because that's what they were doing. They were hiding. If you'll go back and remember from the police reports, the actual police units that were chasing them down that road took a right at the High Line, and they went through and tore up that car. The police stopped. However, what they didn't stop was their emergency warning system, being their red lights on top of their car. The lights were flashing on top of the car. They could see that out there in the pitch black, right? And so that put them in a it put them in a further paranoid state. Because remember, everybody had been smoking meth, right? And so everybody got into a very paranoid. Conn Nipp said, screw this, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys. And he took off through the woods. Molly and Colt got down into a ravine because she didn't think the cops would find them in the ravine. So once they got in the ravine, they ran down the ravine, and that's where we pick up on them on the phone saying, Colt's going up in the tree. He's going to see where we are. We're lost. We don't know where we are. This is crazy. It's got to stop. Somebody needs to come get us. And everybody's like, we're not coming to get you. We ain't getting involved in that stuff. And so Colt climbs up in the tree, and when he gets up to the top of the tree, the branch breaks. He falls about 25 feet, and he lands on his foot, fracturing his ankle and his tibia. The bone is sitting out, and Molly freaks out. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We need to get you help. We got to get help. And so as they're going through their freak out session, Colt's screaming in pain. Molly's trying to call people. Then she calls 911. She's trying to get help, but she can't get good reception in that area. So the decision is made, and we know this because Molly told in a transcript that we have, she told a friend of hers that was a male and asked him to come out and pick her up. And he said, no, I'm not coming out there. I'm not coming out. It's just too much. It's just not going to happen. What happened next was Molly says to Colt, okay, I'm going to go get help. Now, by this time, her battery's real low. The reason her battery on her phone's real low is because the phone's trying to pick up on towers. When she does get out, or she's able to get out with a low battery, and remember back in the old days, you have a low battery, you're not going to have as much trajectory on your signal. She takes off and she goes up the ravine the same way she came in. Colt's laying there on the ground in the ravine under the tree. And I think I took you all out there and showed you that. The branch is still laying there today. It's still just kind of hanging there today. It's very interesting that the tree lasted that long. But long story short, she finally got a hold of a couple of more people, and they said, look, just get out of there and get up to a road and we'll come find you. That's the reason those other set of kids were running up and down Pike Road. They were looking for her because she said, look, I'm at Pike and Oswald. We know Molly got picked up somewhere to the 8:45 area in the morning because she called her friend and said, the boy, and said, never mind, and this is the exact terms, and he has never changed his terms. They are coming to get me. Okay? They are coming to get me. Now, what does that tell you?
There was a group of people coming to get her. But
what group of people?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Oh, yeah, we know. We do know because there was a conversation between her and Conn Nipp's phone. So we know Colby Barrett lived in a mobile home across the street from Conn Nipp. We know because the police officers came to Conn Nipp's house that morning and said, hey, where's Molly and Colt? We know you were driving. No, I wasn't. Okay, Conn, well, when we get the fingerprints back and we get all the forensics back, we know you were in the car and we know you were driving. And by the way, you probably don't remember, but you flicked rocks up on everyone, the two police officers. That's why you got into a car chase. So Conn panics, gets a hold of his brother-in-law, I guess it is, across the street, and boom, there you go. It starts. Everything begins. The cover-up starts. We believe they got out there on four-wheelers because that's all they had to drive out there. They weren't getting in their cars because the cops were everywhere trying to look. And we believe that they found Molly. And once they found Molly, they brought Molly back to where she left Colt. They were yelling and screaming for Colt. They finally found Colt, brought her back to Colt where Colt was. And then we believe that's where the murders happened. Why do we believe that? We believe that because the dogs didn't track anywhere out there on death pathogen. The dog did hit, and I mean hit, and very hard hit. The dog hit right in that area. And it fits the witnesses' statements. Yeah, he said he fell out of a tree. The branch broke. You look up, there's the branch that's broken fresh. The dog is hitting right underneath that broken branch. The dog then picks up a scent and starts going down it's kind of like a Zendaya, more of a ditch, more of that sort of thing. So the dog is taken off and he's on the run, and he goes all the way down until we hit the Nipp property. Now, what does that tell us? That tells us that the dog was hit on blood pathogen. The dog was trying to follow blood pathogen, and when the dog found and followed the blood pathogen, the dog actually picked up on Molly and Colt's scent. We believe that it was a gunshot only because that's what they did. They all have guns up there. We believe that he got his gun, and we believe that he went out there and shot them both.
What was the reason for shooting them?
Being a witness to Conn going back to prison.
Just for a car chase?
Yeah, that's how stupid this thing is. All these homicides have one thing in common. Most of them are stupid. And I know it's very hard for your listeners, and I know it's very hard for you all to try to understand this, but your bottom line is when you get on meth, you lose any and all self-control. I'm telling you, you lose all self-control. Your mind's not right. You get paranoid very quickly, and paranoia leads to what?
Stupid
actions such as this.
Stupid decisions.
Stupid
So backing up just a little bit, when you told us about when you said they were coming to get him, they are Colby Barrick and
yes.
Conn Nipp. Is there anybody else in that circle?
We have not been able to establish anyone else.
So basically, it all comes down to those two. The same people we all thought were involved are involved.
That is our belief, yes, sir.
And when you talked about the pit where the branch was, where Colt fell out of the tree, you believe that's where they were shot and killed? Yes,
and let me tell you why we feel that way and why we believe that way. The evidence, again, has led us that way. We went in there with an excavator, okay? A lot of people don't know this, but we went in with a very large excavator, and we excavated the area. The reason we did that was there was a working theory by some of the law enforcement officers that possibly they were put into a pile and burned up after their death. So we had to either prove or disprove that. The only way to do that is get on a big excavating machine and get into that area. And that's exactly what we did. We brought a big excavator in. We dug out probably, and I think there's pictures, some media got out there and took pictures of me in a hole where you could barely even see my head. And I think and I'm 6'5", and so that would put us at what? 6'5" plus another foot, so that'd be about 7 feet. That's the first thing, is that once you had stacked up and covered up the bodies, which is, we had some rumor out of the jailhouse when they were both in jail, they put the bodies in a pile and they stacked wood over them until they can go get some more help. And they couldn't get any help until they can get some fuel, and they burned the bodies. That is what was told in a jailhouse interview by Conn Nipp to a inmate. Now, do we believe all that? They're cons. They're inmates. Okay, so we don't believe it 100%. However, some of the descriptions that were given to this young man that was a roommate of Conn Nipp's in prison matched. And I mean, not only matched, but matched at 100%. So now you kind of go, okay, what are we dealing with here? The wisdom was they put the bodies on top of each other, and then they covered them up while they went down and got diesel fuel, and then they burned it. They came back later and they saw that, that's the only kind of crap you see on TV. And they believe that they put their bodies in some type of plastic or cover up that they could carry those bodies. They took the bodies onto the Nipp property. They dug a very deep hole and they put them in there. That's the testimony we have from third parties.
So they were never burned, you're saying?
They were burned.
They were burned.
They were burned.
But they didn't burn them to the point. Because I would find
there's no way you can't create enough heat to burn a body to 100%. You just can't.
That was my next question.
You can't. Yeah.
And then wouldn't anybody see the flames?
It's.
I mean, at what point? At what time?
You're giving principle to an area where there's maybe 20 people, maybe 10. Right? Are you with me? And you're trying to apply. Someone would have seen that and called 911. The answer is no. Nobody would have done that, and nobody would have called 911. That's the truth. That's the bottom line.
And that
wasn't going to happen.
Just to clarify for everyone, that pit is on the Nipp property.
It's on the Nipp property.
And that's the property that has never been searched.
Well, no, I'm sorry. The pit where we dug is not on the Nipp property. The reason they moved the bodies off of there is because they knew they could control the Nipp property. So they dug on the Nipp property, put the bodies in the ground, and once they had the bodies in the ground, then they knew they can control it and get their grandmother and grandfather to say, no, you ain't coming on our property. Y'all are just a bunch of witch hunters. So we knew we had the cadaver smell because right when your body dies, you excrete certain chemicals. These dogs are trained on the death smell. They're not trained on hunting a person down like you see on TV. That's not what they're trained to do. Cadaver dogs are trained for cadaver scent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And so where they died, right there is where the dogs picked up on the cadaver scent. Now, let's talk about the terrain. They were down in a kind of a pit/slough area, and it was very high, 10 feet at some points. We started on the north side up there because we figured if Molly was going to go look for somebody, right, she's going to go north. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we found it south, and everybody goes, well, how'd she get back down there? The answer is she got them on the phone at the corner of Pike and Oswald. They came and picked her up before all the excitement started, again, that next morning. And they drove her and said, okay, you're going to show us where you left Colt. We got to see it. So they got out there and they found Colt. Of course, Colt was very angry. I'm telling you, he was very angry. He's coming down off of meth. His leg hurts. He's bled a lot, just pissed. He's just angry. And he's telling them on the phone, you MFers, you better come get me and all this. So by the time they get to Colt, he's angry. He's bled a lot. He's probably shocky at that point. And it's hot. It's hotter than hell. I mean, I want out of here. You guys get me out of here. Screw you. A fight ensues. Bang goes the gun. Down goes Colt. Molly turns around and goes, and runs off. She's never seen anybody get shot. She's just a kid. And getting shot is no fun. And then they pick off her as she's running away. How do we know this? That's part of the story that Conn gave in jail.
Okay. So that's where the basis of all this is.
Yes.
Going back a little bit, has Colby and Conn been officially questioned by law enforcement.
They lawyered up.
They lawyered
I don't
up.
know anything. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Okay, I'm done. Thanks. Have a good day. That's what happened.
Even though they told this story, Conn told this story in prison.
The problem here is that the story Conn told, it matches the physical evidence.
So what's the
Right.
So
problem?
what's the problem then? Why can't they do anything?
Because it's called the hearsay law. She said, he said, she said, he said. Is this criminal up in the jailhouse? Is he gonna be a snitch? What's he gonna be?
But isn't
Right?
that enough information to get a
No.
search warrant for the property?
No, apparently not. They need firsthand testimony. I saw. This is where it was. Cell phone evidence leads me this way. That sort of thing. You got to have firsthand testimony, according to this judge.
Oh, so according to this particular judge.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, other judges have done this. I don't want to blame anything on this judge. He's
No.
just following how
But
he's
I'm
been
just
trained.
saying, Phil, we know the area, okay? We know
Yeah.
the incestuousness of all the people
Yep.
in that area. Everybody's related to people. And
Oh,
Joe Russell, we know all that.
I see where you're going with it, and yes, I believe that is Love County corrupt. If Love County's corrupt, then the new sheriff is corrupt, and I don't think the new sheriff is corrupt. I think he's doing his job. He's
We
doing
agree.
the best of his ability.
You know, he just
And-
passed away. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yesterday.
It's terrible.
He died yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah.
It was sad.
We don't know how he died.
He was very nice.
Oh my God. How'd he die?
I don't know.
We don't know. We just found out yesterday.
Oh wow.
So, quick question about the Colby Barrack butt dialed 911. Do you think that was an accident, that call?
I think it was a butt dial. There's too much conversation. We've had it examined by the FBI, the 911 tapes. We've had it examined by the FBI. We've had it examined by local law enforcement, state of Oklahoma, OSBI. They've all analyzed it, and it all comes back to it is a good recording. So there are sentences we can't hear because apparently they were doing whatever they do. And so it's muffled at 1 minute. The next minute it's not muffled. It's very, very, very clear.
What are the things that are clear that you remember when you listen to it?
Well, I can tell you a couple of things. Number one, the parts that are clear, definitely there's a conversation going on regarding Molly and Colt. We do not hear Molly and Colt having any substantive conversation. We do hear a voice. We don't know who that is. That's why we keep saying, we keep looking for another person. Bottom line is it's not enough for us to have search warrants issued. It's all been transcribed. It's all been put together. And, I guess the bottom line is that it helps us tremendously, but it doesn't get us to the promised land.
Independent of Colby and Conn, are there other people involved in the cover-up?
Family members, we believe family members. As you will recall, our team was the one that found the gun, okay, the 45 cal gun. We were the ones that found it through just basic police work. Basically, what we did was we got on the ground and we interviewed people. And as we were interviewing people in this neighborhood, a guy came walking up to us and said, "Have you talked to that house right there?" "No, haven't talked to his." "Well, he's dating Conn's mother." I said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, he's dating Conn's mother." So, "Well, we'll go talk to him." We knocked on the door and he opened the door. First words out of his mouth were, "Thank God you all are here. I want this thing out of the house." "Do what?" I want this thing out of the house." I said, "What's the thing?" "The gun, damn it." And I said, "Okay, sir, calm down. You have a gun in your house?" "Yes." "Is it loaded?" "I don't know." "Okay, well, we're commissioned personal protection officers in Texas. We're armed pretty much all the time." I said, "Okay, I tell you what, take me to where the gun is." And he said, "I'll show you. It's right underneath that couch right there." How did it get to the couch? Well, Conn's mother showed up 2 or 3 days after this kid went missing, and the two kids went missing, and said, "Put this underneath your couch along with a knife." "Are you kidding me?" He said, "No, I'm not kidding you." I said, "Okay, don't touch it. Don't do anything." We did proper protocol procedure, gloved up, gowned up, got the gun, put it in paper bags, get it out of there. And we took it over to Ronnie Hampton over at the Highway Patrol. And Ronnie turned it into OSBI. And this is before we'd even met any OSBI officers. So that's the story of the gun. That's why we believe it is the gun. The gun was stolen.
Did they test the gun for anything?
They did. And I can't talk about it.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I just want to we're just trying to click off our boxes here.
I understand. That's fine. But, I can't tell you everything. But I can tell you we did find the gun because it is public knowledge. We found a gun. We found a knife, a very large knife. I'm not talking about just a little knife. I'm talking about a very, very large knife. It was turned over. The evidence, according to the police, I can tell you they believe the evidence had become compromised. So anything we could have gotten, a good defense attorney could have torn that up in court. Once we had the gun and the knife, the police department ran the gun serial number, and the serial number came back to a stolen gun. And that stolen gun was stolen approximately 1.7 miles from Conn Nipp's house. And we all knew Conn was a burglar. I mean, that was his gig. He was a burglar, and he liked to burgle thing. That's what he did. That's his gig.
So car chases and burgling, that was his thing.
That was his thing. Well, you have to burgle. When you have no money, you got to go get your money somewhere to buy your meth, right? Go to any big city. The street cops will tell you at any one given time, this is what they do. They steal in order to feed their habits.
It just seems like there's all these little things that just keep hitting dead ends. It's like you get a piece of evidence.
It's not a dead. No. And I want to, the media sees it this way, but I want you all to know that it's not a dead end. What it is an opportunity to paint a picture or a puzzle. All these little pieces will come together one day, is what I'm trying to say to you. And it will paint a picture enough to put in front of 12 men and women in order to come to a verdict. That's what we're trying to do.
What do you think should be the next step in this in order to kind of get some movement or resolution?
Got to get on the Nipp property. We got to get on the Nipp property. We got to get a helicopter up, see disturbed grounds. We've got to see heat signatures. Well, there's a lot of stuff we have to do.
How many acres are we talking about?
Don't quote me on this, but I think we're close to 74 acres in two plots. One is a 50-acre plot. One is a 24-acre plot.
It's a lot of land.
A lot of land.
So someone has to pressure the Nipp family to let them open up their doors to let people on that property.
I mean, the Nipp family has had about as much pressure as now they're just laughing when we come out there and say, please let us on your land, because they know that no judge is going to.
Yeah, no, they need to be told we're coming on their land, and this is why. Yeah. That's what it is.
And that's why we're all waiting. We're all waiting for one more. And that doesn't mean that that's the only thing we're waiting on. We're working on some other stuff quietly. I was just up there yesterday. Or I'm sorry, what's today? Friday. I was up there Wednesday working, interviewing a couple more people to make sure that I have my evidence correct. I need to make sure that my evidence is correct. The facts are still in play because, look, folks, this is getting to be a cold case, long-time cold case, and I don't know of any technology that's going to change other than we need to get into some of that property, and we need to look around.
So you basically need to get on the property, and you need to find remains.
Yes.
That's going to be the only thing that's going to convict these people.
No. That's not the only thing that will convict them. It'll just help the case move along.
Okay.
Because I'm sure there's something down in that hole they don't want us to know. I told Paula last time I talked to her, we're not leaving your side. We're going to see this thing through. And that's why we continually sneak into the county up there. We continually sneak into Love County and all the other counties surrounding it, get out on Pike Road and people start seeing our cars. And then, of course, people, because we don't hide, we're big black Tahoes. That's what we carry our equipment in. And people start calling. And then all of a sudden a police unit will show up and say, well, why didn't you tell us where you were coming? We just don't want anybody to know. It's none of their freaking business.
So what do you hope to see happen here?
I would hope somebody's conscious starts talking to them, okay? I would hope that people start to wake up and know that 2 lives were lost. 2 young people that didn't deserve to die died. I hope their conscience starts talking to them. Conn's ex-girlfriend, I think there was some pillow talk there because it was her car that got in the car chase. She was subsequently arrested and charged with insurance fraud. I would hope that for the sake of the former sheriff that's passed away in Love County, I would hope and pray that his legacy as the guy that was going to come in and solve this thing, I hope somebody, whoever the next sheriff is, takes up and steps up and takes care of it. I think everybody just keep focused. Don't let the sideshow distract you.
So you're in this for the long haul, Phil, right?
Yes, sir. I'm not leaving Paula's side unless she kicks me away, and I don't see that happening.
And you're working pretty closely with law enforcement, correct?
Yeah, we're on the phone. On
Okay.
the phone pretty much about every 2 weeks. There's at least an hour or 2 hour long conversation going back over evidence. I've been up here probably, a few times in the last year. My crew members and some contractors that I'm using have been in the area. We're just going way back over the case and seeing if we've missed anything. Sometimes when you're in our business, people say, well, you haven't affected anything in this case. And they don't know the behind the scenes. They don't know the conversation. They don't know, would we have a 45 caliber pistol that's probably, according to everybody I talked to in law enforcement, which probably was the murder weapon? Would they ever have had that? No, because they wouldn't know where to go look, because nobody went out in the neighborhoods and interviewed these people. We did. And that's what we got.
We're thankful you're keeping on pushing. Paul is thankful. I think everybody who loves Molly and Colt is thankful that it's being pushed, and we'd love to check in with you from time to time if you don't mind.
Sure. Be wonderful. Always glad to talk to you about this case. Always glad to keep it in the forefront of the public. But these families need peace and solace. They need to say goodbye. They need to start to repair. But you can't repair your heart, mind, body, or soul. You cannot begin to repair that without the answers to the question, what happened?
Agreed.
Absolutely. It's heartbreaking for them.
Last week we told you that we had received a tip from someone about the case, and we're going to call them right now to see what they have to say.
Okay, let's do it.
Hi, is this Kirby?
Who am I speaking with?
This is Rob and Cindy from the podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, do you have time to talk to us right now?
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you anytime you want to.
Okay, great.
Okay, good.
Bullshit's went on long enough.
Yeah, we do know.
I've known Joe Russell all of my life, and he's a piece of shit, and he's one of the sorriest son of a bucks you'll ever encounter in your life. I was born right here in this house. I lived right here all my life, 56 years right here on the same corner. I've known that sorry son of a buck all of my life. I know what he's about. The boy that won't talk, that come with the FBI and them at time, I was told about that from a person. That boy will talk to me. Josh Carlisle.
No, okay. Hey, hold on one second, Kirby. Kirby, if you can just do me a favor and just kind of tell us who you are and where you live, and give us a little bit of your background.
Yes, sir. My name is Kirby Anderson Pemberton. I was born September the 14th of 1962. I've lived in Ringland, Oklahoma all of my life. Been to prison 3 times on things that conspiracy to commit a felony twice, and that was this.
Tell us a little bit about how you know that area and Joe Russell and that kind of thing.
Okay. Right here all my life. Joe Russell was married to a hometown girl right here. Her name was Cheryl Webb, and she lived right here. Her daddy was a local carpenter. I grew up with her nephew, Ronnie Webb, who his daddy got killed way back there, and he didn't have no daddy. And Joe Russell was mean to him, and he's been that way all of our lives. But, I've known him, and I never did associate with him because I know he wasn't no good. And I never did run around with that bunch off down there until it was all drug related when I did. I've been clean 3 years.
No, you were talking about Josh Carlisle. Who's that?
Yeah, he's the boy that Willie Russell had a woman living with him, and they said that Joe Russell had them dancing down at the river and this and that, and that girl had warrants out for her out of Love County, and when she left Willie, which was Joe Russell's house, when she left there, she left with Josh Carlisle. And when they got to Marietta, they busted Carlisle, and the girl went to jail for having them outstanding warrants when she had been living in Joe Russell's house. He knowed good and well she had them warrants.
One of the things you kind of reached out to us about is the fact you said you know Joe Russell, you know that he's not a nice guy. Obviously, he's gotten arrested. He's no longer sheriff. What can you bring to us that you know anything about the Molly and Colt story and the disappearance of that night?
Well, I've heard this bits and pieces, just like the high-speed chase and then the running through the fence and finding the car 2 weeks later. A kid named Rob Nickel, he searched for him the morning after they disappeared, that night and that day. He's a rich kid that just wanted to be a country boy. I'm an old man. I'm a lot older than him, but he come to me as I met him in jail. We worked at jailhouse, and his grandpa retired from the OSBI with several years of the OSBI. And that boy, I think, is following in his grandpa's footsteps. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's think that he has been training and whatever. I know he carries a badge in his billfold, and you can't just carry a badge in your billfold.
Since you know all these people, since you've been around that territory for a very long time, you basically lived there your whole life.
Yes, sir.
What have you heard through your back channels on what you think happened?
Well, I'll tell you, I think that I was told that first they said little Conn Nipp, they wanted to say that they thought that he's the one that killed him, but he didn't kill him. He didn't kill him. That kid, like I said, I'm a nice guy nowadays. There was a time in my life that they would have done told me what they did with them kids. I mean, but I'm not that way no more. And I told Miss Fielder, I said, Miss Fielder, I'm gonna tell you something. I said, there was a day and a time, and it ain't been that long ago, that they'd have talked to me and told me where they buried them, and they would have took me to them. I said, or else. And I said, that or else is what would have been ugly. But I know you can't do that. My wife has informed me that we can't do that. We got to do it the legal way, if there's any way at all. I don't like Colby Barrett. I don't like him at all. And I know he did some bad things, and that's a different bridge on a different road there. I don't know about him at all. I met him through Dan Hartman, and I know he's a cold-hearted son of a bitch, but I didn't ever think he was as cold-hearted as what I was told. But I guess maybe he was.
What were you told about Colby Barrett?
I was told that he was the one that killed Molly. There was a knife and they had a gun and this and that. The 911 butt dial call, I don't think that was an accidental 911 call. I think that Joe Russell was right there with him, and I think Joe Russell killed Pete Carlisle, and nobody never ever changed my mind about it. I told them boys, I said, boys, I'm going to tell y'all something, because I got out of prison and I met a guy in prison named Billy Darrell Lee. And Billy Darrell Lee was he was a mean guy. He was a very mean guy. I mean, it didn't bother him. They said he might have buried several of them in the sand along that river down there, but no, they could never prove it. But he was probably the most serious. He's the one that took me around to these people. Like I said, we was doing meth, and everybody was cooking meth. And everybody thought they could cook the best meth. And Colby Barrett said he wore the gold buckle. I never did say nothing around them people about bragging about cooking dope. I was learned when I grew up to keep my mouth shut. This still went on too long, and I know from just what I've been told, that there's a lot more evidence than that y'all released or anybody's released. And I pray to God at night for that. I've said a prayer, because the bottom line is this: little Molly Miller is my cousin. And all of these outlaws and in-laws and think they're tough in the ring, they're not thinking very clearly, because that's my baby cousin.
All right, so hold on one second. Let's back up a little bit. So you're related to Molly. So kind of, let's just break that down a little bit and kind of tell me how...
She's a distant, she'd be my cousin. She's her grandmother, which was my great aunt. Cried myself to sleep at times thinking about what that family went through and because you don't know who to trust.
Do you think that butt dial with Colby Barrett was on purpose?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Who do you think called 911?
I think he punched the 911 because Joe Russell showed up there, and he said, well, Moxley's Pond. It'd be over at Moxley Pond, but nobody had even mentioned Moxley Pond but him.
So was that a way to kind of distract what's going on?
Well, I just believe that you see what killed him right there. There's a hole you stick your finger through.
That was on the TV show that we produced. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So, I don't understand. I think Joe would have probably killed Colby over there if that deal wouldn't have come in, that dispatcher. I think it was not an accident. I think Joe Russell is very thorny, and he's low life, and I really do think he killed Pete Carlisle. Yeah, that was Josh's daddy. They're a bunch of evil people, I'm telling you.
So what you're saying is that Joe Russell could be responsible for other killings?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, and I'd tell it on national TV, too. Yes, sir. I ain't afraid of him at all. I mean, he knows who he can bully around and who he can't, I promise you. He ain't going to bully me or buffalo me. He knows not to even try to save his breath. I'm an old man now. I'm 60 years old, and I'm got a real bad diabetic, and I don't know from one day to the next if I'm going to be here, which nobody does. But this right here needs to come out in the open. I'm saying it's Colby Barrett. It goes back to Colby Barrett.
And is Colby the type of guy that would threaten people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They need to pay for it. In this community right here, I said, but you got a few bad eggs in every bag. We ain't messing with. We're messing with pretty dangerous people. I ain't scared of nobody. I'm a felon. I can't have a gun. I said, I ain't worried about them killing me. You know, you got to die to go to heaven. I said, so I ain't worth the least of my worries, but this has went on too long. And knowing what y'all know, I mean, one or two can disappear. They can be 3 or 4 disappear. I said, it's just that serious. I mean, it's not right, and I don't like it, and I've lived here all my life. And I've got 2 daughters, you know, and I kind of look at that and
How do you think that they did this? What was the reason?
ma'am, they're all strung out like a red worm, but you know what? That's no excuse. I've been as high as anybody could ever get higher in groceries down at the grocery store. I've been as drunk as any man, and never once did I ever want to kill anybody. So, you know, they can blame it on drugs if they want to, but like I said, all I can do is tell you to just keep on doing what you're doing, and I promise you, it'll finally break. Y'all are so close to it right now, it gives me cold chill bumps. I mean, they're gonna break sooner or later. It's been too long.
What do you think their bodies were done with originally?
Well, at first I thought they probably fed them to the wild hogs, because right there at the end of Long Hollow Road, when I got out of prison, I wanted a pig to eat, and I went down to Kobe's barracks there, and he had a pen full of pigs right there at the end of Long Hollow. He had some of the biggest, meanest boars I ever seen in my life, and I'm a hog hunter. I've caught some mean pigs, but he had some of the meanest I ever seen in my life, and I shot a little pig that was in the pen, and I like to never got it out of there before they eat it, and they was vicious. I mean, they was big, 300 or 400 pound boars with tusks as long as your fingers. I figured that's what they done with them, because I never did go back to his house after that. It goes back to one thing and one thing else. He's a piece of shit, and he's got a kid himself. Does he not ever think about things like that, man?
I don't think I don't think any of these people do.
Somebody needs to tell where them babies are. You know, let that family have closure. And I loved Alex Miller. Alex Miller was my friend and an old confidant that I loved him all my life. And he died now, but he didn't deserve to die without seeing that case solved.
So you believe that Colby Barrack had a hand in this, Sheriff Joe had a hand in this, and the Conn Nipp, even though he doesn't have a hand in it, he knows what's going on.
Yes, he does. And I wish y'all squeeze that little son of a bitch. He's too young and tender. He'll talk. If they'll squeeze that son of a buck, he'll talk. All of them will talk if they'll put them in a place and squeeze them. But I understand that they don't want to mess up the investigation. I understand that. I mean, I'm an old outlaw. I know that whenever they go to put the handcuffs on them, they want to make sure that they're... And I really feel like that they was right there at Moxley Pond whenever that butt dial deal, when he said what he said.
Do you think that they could possibly be on the Nipp property? Because that's never been searched.
I think they could be right there in the flower bed. Yes, sir. I think there's 1,000 acres down there, and they either did that. Joe Russell's got a salvage yard, you know. I always figured they put them in one of them cars, maybe, and crush it, send it on down the line. And that's just a theory, not that I can prove or nothing solid, but it's a thought, because he's that crooked and he's that sorry. I'm telling you, son of a bitch is. And that old kid of his running around there selling that methamphetamine out of that police car. Why in the hell didn't they do something about that?
Agree.
I just don't understand, but you know what? It's going to cause a killing. The son of a bitch is going to keep on acting stupid and getting away with that stuff. Somebody will crack. And I'm surprised they hadn't already. I ain't got nothing to hide from nobody. And there's nobody ever changed my mind about that crooked bunch of son of bitches down there.
So have you you've never talked to the law enforcement about this at all?
No, sir.
How many other people do you think know about this and know about what happened and know the results of what happened and who did it?
I'm going to say Kobe Barrack and the old Huffaker kid or whatever his name is. They told me they tied her up and raped her and sicked the bulldogs on her and did all kinds of ugly things to her.
To Molly?
Yes, sir. God said that Molly wasn't the only girl that they'd ever done that to. That 2 other girls come forward and said they'd been done that way. Tied up and raped, I guess. Ain't that the craziest thing right there I ever heard of in my life, for somebody to do that to an individual? And I mean it. I ain't lying to you or nobody. God knows I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, he knew Alex Miller. Alex Miller was one of the best, one of the nicest, politest men that you will ever meet on the face of this earth. Yeah, well-mannered, well-dressed, just down-home country boy that he loved his family. Who wouldn't? You know, hell, it's went on long enough.
Next time on Partners in True Crime.
It doesn't matter what the Stopers did. It's on law enforcement. I'll be up front.
Every time we use these canine resources is that we will know more at the end of the day than we did at the beginning of the day.
If anything, if you read the affidavit, you're going to see, well, there's probable cause that's where the bodies are.
What I can tell you, there's human remains sent there.
If you want to solve this case, OSBI said early on, well, we're never going to solve it until we find the bodies. Okay, there's the bodies. Let's go get them.
If you or anyone you know is suffering from a methamphetamine addiction, please contact the American Meth Addiction Hotline.
If you or anyone you know has been the victim of sexual abuse, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline.
For any tips relating to the disappearance of Molly Miller and Colt Haynes, please contact 833-4-MOLLY and Colt, and they will be directed to the proper law enforcement agency.
All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content. Please visit our website where you can subscribe to the podcast, find show notes, and listen to Vi's original song, Take Me Back, written for Molly Miller.